It's Friday, July 8th. Let's talk PlayStation. My hair's a little messed up, but it's late, so we gotta get this thing over with. Well, it's late for me because then, it'll be going up in the morning for you guys. Anyway, in the first news story, two big PlayStation employees have just recently left the company. They've announced that they've left the company. Nick Sutner is leaving after 7 years at PlayStation, and Adam Boyes is leaving after 4 years of being at PlayStation. Nick Sutner, of course, a little bit in like the kind of in the limelight for a lot of people. He was on PlayStation Blogcast, but he was a lead account manager at Sony. Did and I believe indie game evaluation for Sony as well, but he was on the PlayStation Blogcast. And of course, Adam Boyes was definitely at the forefront of PlayStation a lot of time. Big guy on Twitter, of course. And of course, he was on Sony's stage quite often. He was the vice president of third-party relations at Sony, which is a pretty important role. He was responsible for the past few years for a lot of important stuff getting released on PlayStation 4. And, both of these guys, they did a great job. It's weird. It's one of those situations where if you follow a company for a long time and you follow like these people on Twitter or something, you're like, oh wow, that's crazy. They're leaving PlayStation. Interesting. It's kind of like when Jeff Rubenstein left PlayStation. He was the PlayStation blog guy for the longest time at Sony. He did over 5 years, and then he actually left to go to Xbox and do social media there, which is quite odd and interesting. And I still am like, whenever I see him on Twitter, I'm still like, it's so weird now. He's working for Xbox. But anyway, Adam Boyes is going back into game development, so good for him. And then Nick Sutner has not entirely announced what he's doing just yet, but he said he's going to Portland to kind of clear his mind. But either way, good luck to both those guys. Anyway, in super not exciting news, but maybe for some people, Sony had a new FCC filing for what appears to be a little dongle for true PC support for the DualShock 4 controllers. So this listing typically means we probably will see something come to market, which is it'll be a little dongle that'll support DualShock 4 for sure on a PC now. And it makes me wonder why Sony didn't do this like a long time ago, especially since they are at the forefront of leading console sales. Of course, they'd also like to sell their controllers as well. They offer a multitude of colors. People do often prefer DualShock, especially DualShock 4 specifically. I mean, it's certainly one of those things where I think for a lot of people, they always did prefer the Xbox controller to use on PC, but Sony really upped the ante with DualShock 4, and a lot of people do like DualShock 4. So hopefully this little dongle, peripheral, whatever, will get released soon, so people can actually take advantage of this. Next up, according to a Bloomberg report, PlayStation Vue subscriptions have reached are actually over 100,000 subscribers. Someone is even saying it's close to around 120,000 subscribers. We don't really talk about PlayStation Vue all that much. One of those Sony services where you think it probably doesn't have a whole lot of traffic, not a whole lot of people use it. Maybe Sony's just not doing a big enough push for it or something, and you're thinking maybe at some point it'll just, go under and we won't hear about it ever again. I'm sure Sony, of course, wants PlayStation Vue to do really well, and I mean, certainly if you're going to compare it to, other streaming services or, actual cable television, 100,000 subscribers is certainly nowhere near close to being successful, but I'm sure Sony wants it to do very well because that's one of those things where, when you're offering a TV service and you get enough people to subscribe to it, I mean, that's like a big sort of lifestyle change for some people to constantly use your service over and over again. So to tie people into that one service will be the gateway to many other Sony services or Sony branded electronics, or of course buying PlayStation games, stuff like that. But that's like a really big one. It's like television. So if Sony can get into more homes that way, that probably bode even well for even more more better for them. Poor English, I know. More better for them in the long-term future with their PlayStation division, which we know Sony's focusing on even more recently because it's like the one division of Sony Corporation that does very well for them. And for our final news story, kind of a short news week, not really a whole lot going on, but this is another interesting one. We'll talk about some PS4 NEO, and of course it also includes Xbox Scorpio more or less because we're talking about that mid-console refresh. But the Epic Games co-founder and CEO Tim Sweeney was talking to Eurogamer, and he had a lot of interesting quotes I'd like to share with you all. He said, I'm absolutely thrilled with this. It gives you the best of both worlds, the upgrade cycle of a PC, which ensures that people always have the access to the latest and greatest hardware, and games don't go out of date over a 7-year cycle. Together with the fact that there's a box you can go and buy, or 2 boxes, and you're guaranteed that everything can work. And I think the configurations for developers are very reasonable. From an industry insider perspective, the console industry will grow and sustain its user base much better if it doesn't have to reset its user base to 0 every 7 years. The idea of throwing everything out and doing everything from scratch every 7 years is completely crazy. And everything Epic's done with our new game development approach involving these online games, we're going to maintain over time. It's about building games where we don't have to reset our user base to 0 when we want to add new features. That's kind of what he's saying. He's kind of relating it to that, and this is what we've been saying for a long time now, and it's what everyone's kind of known, which is that something has to happen with consoles. At some point, they will have to change, they will have to adapt, and that was always the big question, is what they were going to turn into. We're beating a dead horse whenever we do talk about PS4 and X1, or the PS4 NEO and Xbox Scorpio. It's the same conversation we always have, but it seems like a lot of people need to keep hearing it because so many people don't necessarily understand why this is happening or why it makes sense. Some people think that it's a completely new generation. That's not at all necessarily what it is. And what I like is that a developer, and certainly a big developer, he's the co-founder of Epic Games. This is somebody that is heavily involved in the industry, and a few other developers have come forward and actually said good things about this as well, which is that this is like a step in the right direction. This makes total sense. And it's like the one thing that I always talked about, which I feel is like the best number one pro-consumer thing about these machines, which, the sort of rumors and announcements finally happened for these machines, and people were immediately like, oh my god, this is so anti-consumer, blah, 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 blah. Once again, these big companies are trying to, fuck us, more or less. And it's like, how are people not seeing the most pro-consumer thing about this, which is that, and it's what Tim's talking about here, whenever a new console comes out, you're restarting at 0. And if you're a gamer, you've been through this every fucking console generation. You get a new box, and if you're like, say, you were a younger kid back in the day, you had to sell your old console, you buy the new one, you're starting at ground zero again. Of course, you were hoping there was backwards compatibility so you can keep your old games or something, but if that wasn't the case, you were kind of boned. But even still, you had to buy new peripherals, you had to buy new controllers, you had to buy new memory cards. Then there was the whole idea of, again, compatibility, if your old games would work or not. The jump from, say, standard definition TV to high definition TV. There was a lot of variables to it, and it was just always this idea of, when you get a new console, you are more or less starting from the beginning again, which is that you're investing all this money back into building a library, and then sure enough, by the time you've got a mature library and you've got all these accessories and things, a new console's ready to come out, and boom, you're doing it all over again. If this is the case with PS4 NEO and Xbox Scorpio, where they're mid-cycle refreshes, but even in the long term, say PS5, whatever the next Xbox would be called after Scorpio, and they're using the same architecture, but once again, they're just slightly stronger, this would build a long-lasting ecosystem more or less forever. You would never have to worry about whatever you bought in the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Live Marketplace. You'd never have to worry if it's going to be compatible in the future, because it will. It will run on that machine. Who knows about, say, physical peripherals? I would sure they would also want to keep that pretty streamlined, but that's like the best positive to it, and not only that, but you are moving forward. You can upgrade your console whenever you like, and when you are ready to upgrade, you're getting what's typically found in a new console, right? You're getting the better, the most powerful box, the latest and greatest, and you can enjoy the best visuals, even more so today, which is more important for a lot of people, which is the highest frame rate, the highest resolution, and it's something that you don't have to do right away, but it's a choice. But this is likely just going to be one of those situations where you're going to have to drag consumers into this sort of kicking and screaming, especially gamers. We love to bitch and moan and complain about everything. And this happens all the times in the tech industry. Certain companies don't want to step forward and do it, but certain companies do. They'll do something that appears not necessarily the best for consumer interest, but sure enough, it makes the most sense, and where it's something that needs to be done. And for consoles, this is something that needs to be done, and it's what we keep talking about, which is that it's so funny that Microsoft and Sony both had the same idea and felt that this was the right direction to go into at the same exact time, at the right moment. They both felt that this is where it needs to go. And so hopefully once, these machines are out and sort of the dust is settled, maybe people will finally start to realize it and get it and kind of swallow that pill and realize maybe they don't have to upgrade right away, or they will buy the new box and enjoy it immediately, or you know how it goes. But we'll see once that time comes. Those are some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. The Ryan on Gaming topic was about DLC and season passes. It's one topic we have not covered yet, surprisingly. It is a very hot button issue for a lot of people. It is one of those, I will warn you if you have not seen it already, it is one of those topics where I'm of the unpopular opinion. I do a little bit of a rant. People don't necessarily like my opinion on the subject, but it kind of goes what we just went into, which is that people like to fucking bitch and moan about everything. Understandably so, they're not the best business practices, but if you do want to see that conversation, go ahead and see it. Good rant. And if you want, you can go over there and yell at me and we'll be all good. The Resistance Let's Play has started. Awesome. And I'm still editing through it, actually, and it's still like a lot of fun. It's weird because I record, and some of the people in the comments are like, "What? How are you doing this already? I thought the servers were off." Like I said, I recorded it before the servers were off because I wanted to do it before then. But it was like 2 years ago I recorded that, so I'm really enjoying it, actually, just going through it again myself because I don't even remember some of the shit I even said in it. But watch that Let's Play. And, the usual business. Whenever I have another video or whatever ready, I'll do it. The Uncharted 4 review let's put it this way. It'll come when it comes. I don't know if that's like a month from now or 2 months from now. I just work a lot. And, kind of sucks. And any free time I usually get, not that I don't love you guys, and I love making videos and love doing stuff for this channel, but any free time that I do get, summer, got a social life, and more importantly, my girlfriend kind of drags me out of the house all the time and makes me go do stuff. So actually, it's actually more me that's making her do it, but I like to enjoy my free time. So that'll come whenever it comes, and that's pretty much it. So that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I'll see you guys next Friday.